This week we're working with shape again, but we're on the location of Appleton Farms, which is a unique farm up on the North Shore in the town of Ipswich. This is the barn that you see, a working dairy barn, and we had a beautiful sunny day. If you look at this image, squint your eyes a little bit, you notice that tonally the trees, the barn, the silos, the truck, the cast shadow, all very close in tonality, and they help us to establish the big shape. Thinking of this joined version of all these close shapes into one big shape, separated by sky, roof, and the bright road in front. And I'm going to exaggerate the height of the silos, I'm going to exaggerate the length of the shadows, I'm going to exaggerate the forward feeling in the truck. In other words, I'm going to redesign this shape a little bit for effect. That all starts with the drawing, the placement of the big shape onto the paper, and in simplifying it this way, we get a more impressive view of our subject. The shapes themselves have a little more interest. I'm playing up the oblique nature of the shape. I've chosen a view that is a three-quarter view of the barn, which usually presents a more interesting view. The reason this is we see the perspective of the barn. There's usually an oblique created by the roof and the base of the structure, and we can embellish that with interlocking edges, with interesting parts that create the edges of the shape. In this case, these fans that are at the top of the shape, they create an interesting component to the overall shape. So if you look at the sketch now, you see that everything is connected. Everything is connected, and this will become more evident as we put in some colors. I'm going to be adding a few things and eliminating a few things. Things which I will add will be figures, which you see placed now. Things which I will eliminate are some fire hydrant, a fence which I found distracting. I'm going to move the tree a little closer but eliminate some of the lower branches. Also that we get a very clear center of interest in the lower third of the painting with the figures gathered around the truck. Since in my mind I have this shape already unified, which means I can kind of see it in my mind's eye. The colors that I'm selecting do represent say the grays, the variety of color that I'm looking at in this backlit scene. However, I'm making a concerted effort to make the tonal values relatively close, even though I'm going from green to brown to blue to a variety of other colors. I'm trying to keep the relative tonality, that means the lightness, darkness of these colors, similar. That will help to establish this overall shape, the big shape as we call it. This shape begins in the buildings and is extended into the shadows, has even extended into different parts of other shapes. The fence, while it's a white fence, I'll be painting it a little lighter on top, but as it moves through a brightly lit area, I'm going to be painting it darker. That may seem counterintuitive, but it ends up working out. It ends up looking like a white fence. So I'm working, with a variety of colors. I think I'm using ultramarine blue, burnt sienna for most of this. Here and there I'm adding green and yellow, as you see in the background. But most of this barn, silo, and the two grain feeders that we see on the left is done with ultramarine blue and burnt sienna. They seem to work together. The grays that they create are rich and varied. Okay, so now we can kind of see the join shape in this stage. The gray is changing over the course of moving through different parts of the barn and silo, but it remains these two colors, and the tonality remains pretty close. What we'll do on top of this is we'll start to, once it's dried fully, we'll add some windows. We'll finish off the lower shadow, which is cast by a tree to the right. We'll finish the truck, finish the figures. I'm probably going to save the sky for last. Let's put in a little color on the roof, and then we'll resume the painting.